This is the Between Shadow Society Part 9. Let's recap our threats. You just have one active threat right now, the Nutcracker. You resolved Fig's Pigs last week. So the Nutcracker, as a reminder, a a retired hunter, Rabbi Rebecca Solomon, sort of got Hargrave House involved in this case that has sort of taken London by storm this holiday season. A murderer is capturing young men from the Royal Ballet, gelding them, and then displaying them around the city. So that is a thing that is happening, and Rabbi Solomon has asked you all to sort of get involved, and so you are. Oh, I see a note about the Pinkerton. Did the Pinkerton get introduced? Is that a thing?
Oh, does that trigger on a particular? That's
there's a mask. You just mark it.
Which
I was rewatching stuff and it's like it said, "Oh, Pinkerton's in play," because I forget what you rolled.
Well, yeah,
it was like
yeah,
six,
yeah.
like part 6. I forget.
Yeah, we marked the moss-covered gate, so
so we have to do the Pinkerton
that can interplay whenever. Yeah.
Well, we'll do it next week. I wasn't ready to do it today, so I forgot about it. Yeah, we had that big break between sessions. So yeah. That's our active threat, the Nutcracker. You currently have how many clues? Not a bad amount so far, 4 right now, so that's great. And the Mastermind, you currently have 10 Mastermind clues, so that's exciting. Let's take a look at the Hunters real quick. See how everyone's doing on conditions. Everyone's got at least 1. A couple of you have 2. Dr. Noble has 3. The pattern is very, very prominent among the conditions. So that's exciting. Did anybody take an advancement that I need to know about?
I was going to think about a custom move, but then I panicked and I did not think of one. So I'm just going to take a modifier just to make things easy.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I just took a adding to my modifier. I mean, after facing down the Sculptor, she's just like, just I guess more focused, so she can deal with fear. I mean, it's
great.
Easier.
Sculptor is an intense character, so it feels like a good move. Awesome. Let's go to the day phase then. So let's introduce a brand new threat. And it's the holidays. London is, at least the sort of criminal monstrous element of London is fairly subdued, if not for the psychopath gelding ballet dancers around the city. Our new threat is a side threat called the Reaver's Last Victim, and that is on the sheet already. So a side threat is introduced like other threats, but it does not count towards the limit of 3 active threats. Furthermore, its mask and its moments can be used whenever. It's not like you can use those, like those can happen anywhere in the game. And the mask is relevant to you all, the moments are relevant to me. And also, this particular side threat is not actually dangerous. No die rolls happen unless you are answering a question about it. Otherwise, it's all very player-driven, and the stakes are emotional stakes. They're not physical stakes. There's no threat to the city or anything like that. And so the Reaver's Last Victim. Years ago, a former member of Hargrave House was captured and executed after it was discovered that he was the legendary killer Roger the Reaver. I think we explored Roger the Reaver before, if I'm not mistaken, in the conservatory, possibly. Let me take a look. I might not have, in which case...
It's not ring a bell for me.
Let's go to the desk phase. take a look. You did not yet, no. So we might do that today. Yes, Roger the Reaver, former member of Hargrave House, arrested and executed. A shadow was lifted off of London back then, but some of its darkness remains to this day. The remains of Roger the Reaver's last victim, Anton Farrow, were never found. Every year, on the day of his death, one of Anton's family members has come to Hargrave House to lay down a bouquet of flowers, lacking a better place to do so. However, this year, they knocked on the door. When you opened the door, a middle-aged man, William Farrow, stood before you saying, "You know, my mother, Anton's mother, has gotten really sick. She's old and life has taken a lot out of her. I don't think she has that much time left. I just wish she could know that Anton found some peace before she dies. You're supposed to be good at this kind of thing. How come none of you ever found him, huh? I guess you would have to care." After delivering his speech, he placed the flowers on the ground as usual and left. This question is for Miss Blakely. You knew Roger personally while you both worked at Hargrave House. You knew what he was doing long before he was caught. Why did you never do anything about it?
It didn't personally affect me, so why would I? Quite honestly, it's a very strange question. I suppose, he was, as long as he was being subtle about it and sort of under the watch of the bobbies, it wasn't going to affect me and my reputation at all, so I didn't really care.
Fair enough. There is one question and one opportunity associated with this threat. The question is, where are the remains of Anton Farrow hidden? It's only a complexity 2, and the opportunity, it allows you to resolve this side threat by finding his remains and letting his family lay them to rest. Now, I should tell you that there are a couple of special things in play here. One is that you have to solve this little side threat within 3 night phases. If you don't, Anton Farrow's mother dies and never gets any peace. So that's that. Also, we have an aspect of the Janus mask which can be used at any time, called the Mask of Apathy. I'll type that down here. Mask of Apathy. And there's a special rule for clue finding. Once per day, whenever the hunters take the time to do so, you can narrate a short scene where you visit one of the crime scenes of Roger the Reaver, talk to relatives of the victims, go through official records, or do similar work. You name and describe one of the victims as part of this. You then find a clue. You tell me what the clue is. It cannot conclusively answer the question, as usual. And that's how you find clues for this. There's no die roll. You just say you're doing this, describe it, name a victim, and then tell us the clue. And so you've got 3 nights to get that done. Otherwise, out of character, Mrs. Farrow will die. So let us, with all that said, talk about scenes. What does everyone want to do today, Dr. Noble?
I had a plan coming in, and now I'm like, I want to work on this because either Pope answered the door and let me know what happened, or I answered the door for whatever reason, and yeah, that's rough. I did want to take advantage of old bones and go to was it the Royal Ballet where yeah, and then kind of see if I can get clues that way. She's feeling obviously more sensitive, so I mean, like, she feels like that's something that she can explore. So I'd want to do that first and then start to look into the Anton Farrow case.
Yeah, sounds good. Pope, what about you?
I think I would also like to look into the Anton Farrow case alongside Dr. Noble.
Sounds good. Miss Blakely, what are you up to today? You had quite a night before.
Yeah, things happened, and I think Miss Blakely is, as always, a little bit pissed at Brathwaite and would probably also head to the ballet to deal with the situation because now it's associated with Brathwaite.
Yeah. Sure shot.
I want to invite Dr. Noble to meet me at the Tower of London for coffee.
Very good. Sounds good. I think that's great. So why don't we have that scene first? Frame it up. Sure shot. What's going on?
Okay. I let Dr. Noble know somehow. I don't know if I tell Pope and Pope tells Dr. Noble or if I manage to find Dr. Noble, but I get there in advance. And I brought Mrs. Fig with me so that she could visit. She's on a crutch and she is visiting with a young man who seems to be enjoying some breadcrumbs, kind of some distance off. But I'm there and I like already have like some coffee like arranged, waiting for Dr. Noble.
And she gets to the Tower of London and is bemused and delighted. What's all this effort then? Why are we here?
Doctor, it's not good for a man to keep too many secrets. And well, they say gotta catch more flies with honey or whatever, and well, coffee is honey, I suppose, in this analogy. And he gestures over to the two figs. And he's like, I've had to deal with this situation in a drastic way, but it seemed like the only way. And I just needed somebody to talk about it with.
Are these who I think they are?
One and the same.
Oh my. I thought you and Pope had taken care of La Hortensia.
Well, I think he had to urgently leave, and well, I took care of it.
Appreciative that he did, but that's obviously a different story. But she's here. I thought.
Well,
again.
She's here sometimes. She's here when I bring her here, but really, she's at the synagogue. She's agreed to stay, and well, she can't be getting around too good these days.
I see. Ah, you left a clue for Scotland Yard. Ah.
I told Scotland Yard that she was gone.
Not all of her was gone, evidently.
No.
This was a brilliant stroke.
Is it though? It feels somehow wrong, dishonest. How do you drink this stuff? I know that I'm supposed to be all tough, and you probably think that I drop a horseshoe in the thing to make it to see when it stands up and drink this stuff, but I can't stand it, to be honest.
And does it knock back off you? How do you do that?
Is that
because
how you
I
drink
can show
it?
you right now how I can do this. And then she takes the cup that you've provided, pours in a big helping, and just downs it because that's what she does.
Good heavens! How'd you not just burn your throat?
It's a talent.
Sure shot, are you clearing the rookery? It sounds like you're clearing the rookery, maybe.
That's what I'm aiming for, yeah.
Yeah, I got that, like sort of settling the situation. Dr. Noble, I don't know if you cleared a condition or not. Maybe, I don't know.
A pattern, this seems to be the only well, hold on. It's been a while since I looked at it. Come on. Set the pattern and music from the past. Oh. Those are the only two I can think of that would.
Yeah, I don't know that it happened though.
Yeah, probably
it's okay,
not.
Though. You do get to choose the bonus though. Either invite Sure Shot to ask a question or stumble on a clue.
I think we should stumble on a clue. Just trying to think of what it would be.
Think on it for a moment. Pope,
yeah.
It sounds like you have the morning, at least the early morning, to yourself. What do you do?
I'm wondering if there's any way I can be reaching out to one of my informals to see if they have any information about.
I think Kip owes you something as well.
Oh, that's right. He does, yeah.
We can have that scene.
Yep.
I think it's actually been a couple of days since the last events, but Kip's been watching. He's been hanging around Covent Garden and kind of keeping an eye on things. And he cheekily rings the front doorbell.
Pope will answer it and kind of stand in the crack of the door that he opens and say, young Kip, I think the tradesman's entrance would be more appropriate, don't you?
He's like, one day you're going to let me come in through the front, Mr. Pope. One day. And he's already starting off, like when you say that, probably to go around to the back. And he does meet you around back. And he says, so what sorts of things might you have for breakfast at old Hargrave House?
Well, we have some we have a few kippers left over from Dr. Noble's breakfast, and I can arrange some toast, I suppose. It all rather depends, Kip, on whether you have any information for me, doesn't it?
Well, as it so happens, I do have something of interest for you, sir. And
well, in that case, take a seat, and I will bring your breakfast, young man.
Yeah. He tells you of, I need to look at the current clues before I duplicate any. Hold on. Okay. He says, did we not talk about the final performance on Christmas Eve? I thought that you had that clue already. Did I make that up?
You did talk about it, but I don't know if it made it onto the list, I think.
Yeah, it might not have, because I thought I gave you that clue already. Well, let's do it now. So he says, well, as it turns out, sir, there's a lot of talk about a final performance that's going to be taking place on Christmas Eve. And this final performance, it seems like it's something that the dancers might be in on. And when they say the word final, they mean it in the most extreme sense of that word, final. Something bad, I think, is going to happen on Christmas Eve. And that's pretty soon. He says, something else as well. And he pulls out some, basically like some sort of like periodicals, say, that are very, very homoerotic in nature. And he says, I found these. Just sort of, poking around through the bins. I don't know if this is a clue, but my goodness, what are these men up to?
Yes, I think I'd better take care of those for you, Kip. Might not
So
be,
yeah.
might not be entirely appropriate for your young eyes.
He's like, well, I just was kind of curious. I mean, like, I didn't even, like, what are they doing? It just seems so strange.
You surprised me, Kip. I hadn't taken you to be such an innocent, but
he's like,
that's all to the good.
I don't even think I could make my legs stretch that way.
I think Pope is looking kind of bashful and pottering around the kitchen at this point and trying to move these things out of sight as quickly as possible.
Very good. It is a clue though. So we'll give you the one, which I think you had last time, a final performance. And a stash of homoerotic magazines. So he enjoys his breakfast heartily and goes about his day. Miss Blakely, what are you doing this morning again?
I think I was planning to go with Dr. Noble to the ballet.
All right, we can pick up.
It won't be awkward at all, I'm sure.
We can pick up with that then. But let's get that clue first. So what is the clue here, Dr. Noble?
I feel like while we're at the Tower of London, as part of some of the debris that's around, there may be another article that's been torn out. I mean, like, just not only mentioning it looks like it could possibly be, and we could always check, from the same paper that mentioned the suicide several years ago. But this is having to do with a minor investigation into like an op-ed piece. It's like, somebody talking about the condition of the dancers in like an editorial about they can fly through the air and do all these things because they're so emaciated looking or what have you. I mean, just kind of like almost in a comparing response to the article that appeared about the suicides.
Oh, I see. Trying to like find some reason for
yes,
that.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like it. That's good. I noted that on the clue sheet. Very good. Sure shot. You had one last thing to do.
Yeah. I know that Dr. Noble already has feet marked off, but I think Sure Shot, like, at the end of this, like, is starting to get kind of tearful and like leans over to Dr. Noble and is like, I took the clue to Scotland Yard and they pushed it back on me, and they said they didn't need it, that the case was closed. I have no idea what to do with it, but perhaps you can find some good turn of use for it, some medical research or something that can be gained. And he kind of sets down underneath the table a bag.
And then she proceeds to look in the bag, and her eyebrows raise, and this is quite the gesture. I suppose it could go into the flesh terrarium as part of my collection. Are you going to be all right? You're not looking well. You're looking quite, how to say, primal?
Just this this whole Reaver business has me thinking, you know, what are we even doing here? I didn't even know this. I didn't even know about this Roger guy, but sounds like people in our line of work in this city, we just kind of get up to whatever we think is right. And I'm just struggling with that.
He's looking away from her, and she's making faces. It's like, yes, we all have something. But actually, she does smile a little and go, we all have secrets to hide. But that does not make every one of us a monster. Regardless, it is how you act. It is what you do that makes the difference. I'm sure there are things in my past that I've done that many would consider monstrous.
Seems like a good place to cut.
Yeah, it does indeed. Were you angling to clear music of the past, Dr. Noble?
I'm thinking so, yeah.
Yeah, you can clear it. Okay, so let's talk about the Royal Ballet. Still going to the theater, not the dance studio, correct?
Wait, hold on. Let me think. Are they two separate buildings, or
They're
are they
two separate
attached?
places, yeah.
Okay.
I think Blakely will probably go to either, depending on where Dr. Noble goes. Not because she particularly likes Dr. Noble right now, but because last time she went somewhere by herself, it didn't work out.
Fair enough. Okay, well, so Dr. Noble, and then Pope, are you going to go with Dr. Noble as well?
Yeah, I will do. Yeah.
Sure shot, what are you doing?
I think he's investigating this Reaver's last victim business.
Let's do let's kind of get this scene going then, wherever Dr. Noble's going. So Dr. Noble is at the studio or the ballet.
Helps not to mute myself. I think it makes sense to go to the ballet first. I think it might have a lot to tell, especially if we could get backstage. If I use old bones.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Yeah.
And let's take a look at our. We already did the paint the scene for here. Okay, so I think that who might you run into here? Oh, so you go backstage and you can see there are a couple of people here. Actually, no, it's before that. It's a snowy day, and you have come to Covent Garden. And you all have you all catch a glimpse of a woman, a beggar. She is dancing in the snow. She has a nutcracker in her hands, which feels ominous. And she's like dancing with it. And she has a Christmas wreath on her head that she's wearing like a crown. And she's dancing with this nutcracker. And she stops and she says, "Do you love me? Do you love your Snow Queen?" And then she operates the nutcracker so that it talks back. "Yes, yes, I love you. You warm my cold heart this winter day." It's an unusual thing. And she sees you. And she comes up to you. And she says, "Ah, you are here at the court of the Snow Queen." You'll see now that she has no teeth. She's quite bedraggled looking, if not for her Christmas wreath on her head. She says, "So, what sort of favor might I grant to you?"
She's in front of Covent Garden, or off to the side?
Yeah, she's just hanging out in the street in front of
Gotcha.
it.
Dr. Noble's seen so many people in her line of work. She is amused by the tableau, and she'll say as much. "Quite the amusing tableau, your Majesty." And then she'll drop a little curtsy to humor her. My question to you is, what favors can you grant?
She says, "I know many things, if only you would give me a tribute."
Oh my goodness, Dr. Noble. This is clearly some sort of scam. This person knows nothing about anything. They're talking to a nutcracker doll.
She says, "Oh, but I know you well, Miss Blakely. Very well indeed. You have in your possession a music box that is supposed to play the dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy, but the tune it actually plays is quite unrecognizable. Give it to me, give it to the Snow Queen in tribute, and I will tell you what I know about this place."
How do you know about this? How do you know about what I have?
Because I am the Snow Queen, and my agents are spread throughout London.
Dr. Noble, I believe she has spies in Hargrave House.
My spies are the squirrels, checking on his stash of nuts for the winter, the bird sitting on the sill.
Well,
will you give me what I ask in tribute, Miss Blakely?
I suppose. I mean, it's broken anyway. What good is it to me?
Bring it back here when you have time, and I will tell you all what I know. Assuming you don't have it on you.
Probably not. No, I feel like that's not something you just carry around.
Yeah.
My giant pockets. Like,
I'm curious, Pope, what are you doing in the meantime?
I think I'm standing just watching this unfold in case I need to step in. But I don't think I'm perceiving this as any kind of threat to Dr. Noble.
No,
I'm curious to see where it's going.
As she spins away, happy that she's going to get her requested tribute, she turns back to you, Miss Blakely, and says, "Not all puppets have strings, you know. You yourself are being toyed with even now. Beware the Blue Lady."
I think Blakely kind of opens her mouth to some sort of retort, but the phrase the Blue Lady kind of stuns her a little bit into silence, because every single time Blakely's gone up against Brathwaite's walked away the winner.
Indeed. Sure shot. So per the special rule, you get to you describe the scene. You have to narrate a short scene where you visit one of the crime scenes of Roger the Reaver, talk to relatives of the victims, go through official records or some other similar work. And then you have to name and describe one of the victims and then define the clue.
Okay. Then I will follow up by talking with, where is it? William Farrow. I'll track that guy down who dropped the flowers off And you just want me to narrate the whole scene, or do you want
It's
to
all
role play
vignette.
it?
There's no role play. Yeah.
Okay. And I think I talk with him, and I'm obviously not from around here, and I'm a recent quote unquote addition to the house. Hadn't heard about this. Anything he could tell me would be helpful. We do care. And I think he points me in the direction of one of the other victims, who, what am I supposed to say how they were killed or detail?
No, you just have to name them. I mean, you can say whatever you
like
want, but you have to name them. That's the important part.
Okay. Yeah, the victim, I think, was Clarence. I can't think of a good last name. I don't know.
Clarence Daughtry.
Yeah, that's a great name. And you knew the Reaver's victims because his calling card was beheading.
Was what?
Beheading.
Oh, beheading.
Decapitation. Yeah. Yeah. And then I'm supposed to say how I get a clue from all this, right?
Yeah, you have to just define the clue. Yeah.
Okay. So I think I follow up on that victim, Clarence, and find out from his next of kin that he had been frequenting a particular district, and that district, I think, is the clue. So all victims from a particular district.
We'll say Shoreditch.
Or all victims found in a particular district.
Okay, sounds good. And I went ahead and named the district. Is that okay? Okay.
Yeah, that's great.
So at the Ballet, there are not many people around because of the current horrors have basically brought the shows to a halt, which Rabbi Solomon is none too pleased about. And of course, a great many admirers in the city are not pleased about. But there are a few people here and there. You see a stagehand with great big broad shoulders, just a huge man. You can see him like kind of moving some set pieces back and forth across the stage. And you see another woman who appears to be a wig master, carrying wigs on little display heads back and forth around back, and a couple of other just, stage people, workers. Pope, what do you do?
I think at some point I would like to share the information that that Kip brought to me with Dr. Noble and Miss Blakely. So I'll say to them, one of my informants, young Kip, I believe you've met him, Dr. Noble. He told me that the ballet was preparing for a final performance, and he was quite adamant that final had some particular meaning. I wonder if we should discuss that matter with some of the staff here, some of the performers or backstage people.
That seems like a very practical course of action. I would like to see if we can get into one of the dressing rooms or backstage areas. I just, there's something about this that feels like this building has history, and it feels like there's something that it can tell us. So Dr. Noble wants to go into the back somewhere and then see if she can call up some old bones.
Well, this is simple enough, and I think Blakely tries to catch the eye of some young, I don't know, innocent-looking person who is part of the cast and or crew.
Sure. I think there might be a dancer hanging around. Yeah, we'll say there's a young dancer who is kind of on the stage, just sort of like performing some moves, practicing some things on the stage. Maybe practicing with a prop of some sort.
Yeah, I think Blakely walks up to the stage, very focused on this dancer, very like, oh, goodness, you, hello. Sorry to interrupt.
He says, oh. He's a young man. As he speaks, you can detect the remnants of a Russian accent that have been beaten out of him. He seems friendly enough. He's wearing a dance belt and frayed socks, and on his bare chest, he has a necklace with the Rub el-Hizib on it, which is a symbol of Islam. And he says, "Oh, I'm Sasha Delov. Who are you?"
Blakely, Miss Blakely, it is absolutely wonderful to meet you. I couldn't help but notice you up there on the stage, and
Are you a
move
dancer?
great. Oh my goodness. How? You're such a flirt. No. I myself am not a dancer. I'm just very enamored with, well, enamored, so sorry to speak so bluntly, enamored with dancing, and really with how dancers move and practice, the discipline and such. It's quite amazing.
Yeah, that's good. We'll come back to this. Pope and Dr. Noble, you all were going to the back, it sounded like.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
You will see this wigmaster sort of very, she has like these wigs laid out, on a long table. She's sort of taking advantage of the fact that really there's no one else around, so she's got this stuff spread out everywhere, right? And she'll see you and she'll say, "Oh, hello."
Hello. I'm Dr. Noble, and this is my compatriot, Pope. We were just admiring the back and wanted to around and just enjoy the atmosphere.
She says, "Oh, well, that's certainly no harm in it, I suppose. There's certainly nothing else going on around here lately."
Did we hear something, Pope? She makes like she's talking. About there possibly will be a final performance sometime on Christmas Eve.
If that's the case, Mom, yes.
And so this woman, she is she's old enough that folks consider her spry rather than athletic. She goes by the last name. She is Mrs. Lovetress. She's Ethiopian, and she's wearing suede shoes with well-oiled leather heels. She has her hair in a tight gray bun. And she says, well, I'm sure they just mean the last performance of the Nutcracker, which will be on Christmas Eve. Nothing to concern yourself with, unless you intend to come. That's if it even happens, because of, well, all the events of recent days I'm sure you've heard about.
Yes, unfortunately, it must be a blow to not just for the loss of life, but also for these young men being taken down, thinning the ranks, unfortunately.
She looks at you. She's kind of staring at you a little, like, closely, and she takes a few steps forward, and she says, everyone has a story, I guess. Everyone has a different way to tell their story. I, for one, think that human hair tells a story. How you care for yourself, how you expect to be seen, where you come from. You know, if you have the time, I could give you a quick cut or apply a few fragrant oils, a blessing of sorts. You look like you need some personal care. And she says this, like, with her giving like an askance glance at Pope.
That's a very kind offer. If we do have time, I might avail myself of your services. But we will enjoy our self-tour of the backstage, if that's all right. We don't want to interrupt your business.
It's no harm. And she goes back to what she was doing, trying to get this horrible sparkling blue powder out of these wigs.
I think Pope will take a closer look at that, since he's, used to taking care of Dr. Noble's things and, cleaning her, not that she uses wigs, but, cleaning her clothes and her other, so he will approach this woman and say, "Might I take a look at that, madam? What kind of material has become attached to that wig?"
Well, I'll tell you that it's sapphire blue, and you still have the sapphire condition. Take an investigation move with reason, but at disadvantage.
And my reason is -1, so this is not going to go well.
Probably not.
I rolled a 2, a 6, and a 3, so that's 4. Yeah,
it's a 4. While maybe you step away a little bit, Dr. Noble, and you see a smile in the darkness. It's a smile that you recognize. How does it make you feel?
She's not surprised. She actually will speak to the darkness and says, "Well, you've intruded upon my environs. Now it's my turn."
Oh, Dr. Noble. I think it's more appropriate to call this my lair. And you hear the snapping of cables and a creaking of metal as a large piece of the catwalk right above you is falling down. Pope, you can avoid all this by marking the Janus mask.
Yes, I believe I will do that. It's either that or use my my move to appear and save.
Do that as well.
But let's go for a Janus mask. Yeah.
So instead,
I've done one for a while.
Instead, you will get your clue. There will be a complication with said clue. We'll talk about that in a moment. So Dr. Noble, what are you doing as you're back there?
Definitely want to make my way into one of the dressing rooms and then see if I can, as I'm looking at, through the room and touching the walls and starting to appreciate its, its age, want to start calling upon cosmic passage and then veering into old bones.
I love it. Go ahead and roll with sensitivity. Yeah, just straight roll is fine.
Yep. All right. Let's see. Just want to make sure I know. Okay, great. Okay. 5 plus 2 is 7.
Very good. Let's take a 5-minute break. We'll come back and resolve all this. I do want to check in with Sure Shot briefly. Sure Shot, you can only do that clue finding thing once per day phase. So, but you do still have a good part of the afternoon available to you. What would you like to do?
I'm not entirely sure. I feel like I have a good theory on the Nutcracker business, but I wanted to see what other people thought about
We've got a few more clues coming up too.
Yeah,
so.
I figured we had a few more clues. So, man,
could always just try to angle for a dawn question, I guess.
What do you mean?
Like just have a scene where you satisfy a dawn question, I suppose. If you
that's a good idea. Yeah, that's a good idea. Let me
If you still have the one where like you help another hunter like let loose or something like that.
Yeah.
It's like I'd be glad to get in on that because I think like Dr. Noble after this we'll have a question for you.
Okay. I will be available. That is what Sure Shot is doing.
Very good. Very good. Okay, well, so let's cut back over this theater scene. Miss Blakely, you pretty well have this young dancer in your thrall. What do you ask him?
My dear, I wouldn't want to get you in any sort of trouble, but I have heard some rumors about a final performance. Now, I mean, I assume it's just the final performance of this particular show, but it seems to be more special than that. What do you know of that? I make sure to get tickets. I wouldn't want to miss a special occasion, especially if I get to see you dance.
Make investigation move with presence. Yeah.
Once again, I put my dice somewhere there. That's what happens when you organize your desk.
I'm going to put you at disadvantage because it's established that this kid is pretty religious and you have the devil condition. So I think there's an underlying apprehension.
That is fair. Oh dear. Well, let's roll the disadvantage. Oh, sorry. What is this with?
Presence.
Okay, that's 7.
Okay.
Oh, I'm so lucky that my presence is 3.
He says, "Oh yes, I haven't been invited to participate in that final performance, though I know what you speak of. I know that the dancers who have been invited, they practice at very strange hours of the night. They sometimes practice at 2, 3 in the morning. Isn't that unusual?"
does seem unusual. I suppose it's some sort of conditioning thing.
I don't know, but that's your clue. These odd performances at odd hours of the night. And I think for the complication, I think I'm going to give you, I think he's just got like a little bit of like puppy love going on. And he'll say, Miss Blakely, I have the rest of the day off. Would you be interested in, well, perhaps we could go walking together, and we could have chestnuts.
Oh, that sounds absolutely lovely. Unfortunately, I am here on a little bit of business. However, if you would like to fetch me some chestnuts, I would not say no.
And he says, all right. And he goes to get his trousers and get his shirt. And I'm going to give you the condition: chestnuts from Sasha.
Goodness.
Let's cut over to Pope. Pope, you're getting your clue with a complication. Let's write down the last clue too. Oh, it's already on there. Your clue. You're in the back and you see an excessively exotic centerpiece, sort of back there, perhaps part of the show, perhaps part of this final performance, whatever that means. This centerpiece, you thought it was just like a paper mache or a stuffed thing, but it's not. They have a live polar bear in a cage in the back. That's your clue.
I would like to go a little closer and see if I can see whether, is this polar bear tranquilized? Is it?
Here's the complication. As you approach, you hear a chunk chunk, and the door swings open as someone has opened it on you, someone in the shadows, and the polar bear lumbers out in your direction. Please make the day move to keep your composure. What are you afraid is going to happen if you lose your nerve right now?
I don't think Pope would have ever seen a bear before, never mind a polar bear. So this is the biggest, most dangerous animal he's ever encountered in his life. So yeah, it's got to be as simple as it's going to beat him.
Make the day move with composure. Take it away.
Oh, I think composure is actually I get a +2 on composure. Just managed to scrape a 6, even with +2.
Dr. Noble, you hear a loud roar and a scream of terror and pain as you see this massive animal ripping through Pope's stomach, spilling his guts out onto the ground, and then clamping down hard on his neck and tossing him around like a rag doll, spraying blood and viscera all over the theater. Unless Pope marks Janus Mask.
I've already owe you 1 now today, don't I? So
yes. There's also, you have the group ones are available too. The Mask of Apathy, which you can use anytime, is available. So
Dumb question. Where do I find those on the character keeper?
It's actually on the threat sheet, and it's with each threat, but they don't tell you what they do anyway. So you don't.
Sure, I will take a look at those, and I'll mark one of them. I'll do the Mask of Apathy.
Yeah, that's the only one available. The Mask of Apathy. This is from Reaver's Last Victim, but it can be used anytime. Each hunter must narrate a flashback to a time they were hurt deeply and no one cared. But you otherwise keep it together. I'm going to just give you kind of an unnerved condition, but just otherwise describe how you get the bear back into its cage safely, or otherwise diffuse the situation.
I think Pope is just desperately trying to keep his composure steady as this thing lumbers out, and he kind of glances left and right to see if there's a keeper in evidence anywhere. But eventually just kind of spreads his arms, not seeing anyone, who spreads his arms wide to make himself as big as possible, and just kind of very slowly advances towards it until it just backs up enough into his cage that he can flick the door shut and bolt it.
Very, very good. And you have an unnerved condition. Does it for you.
Okay.
And let's talk about old bones. You feel a small hand take your hand, Dr. Noble. It's a cold hand. It is a dancer, a boy, probably about the age of the kids from the Limehouse School. And he looks at you and he says, "This used to be a happy place for me.
Did you die here, child?"
I was murdered. Though no one thought it was a murder. It was her, Ms. Gagnon. He's referring to the head of the company. She was angry with me because I wasn't performing as she wished. And her corrections became a little extreme.
Is there anything we can do to help you rest?
Yes. And I will help you help the others. He says, "I'll go first." And he points into the air, and you suddenly hear the sound of a voice, a castrato, singing Verdi's Cortigiani vil rasa donata from Rigoletto. That's your clue. He says, And now for what I want. Kill her.
I am all about life, boy. But I understand this need. If she still feels the hand, then she'll try to squeeze it.
Yeah.
As a promise.
I'd like that little, we're done at the theater. I'd like that little letting loose scene when you get back to Hargrave House with Sure Shot. What does that look like? What's going on, Sure Shot?
Did you have something in mind, Dr. Noble?
Considering everything that's happened, it's like, she wouldn't mind some rootin' tootin' shooting action or something like that.
Just shooting things.
Just basically, and she may ask you to lend her a gun or something just to carry around and feel a little bit safer, because she always seems to run into people in her own room or just anywhere she goes.
Yeah, I think when you get back to the house, like, you can hear the sounds of gunfire coming from the basement already. Like, Sure Shot's down there. And I think he's like messing around with different stuff, new ways of doing things. So he's very interested when you arrive. He's like, Dr. Noble, look what we've got here. I think I've come up with something rather interesting. And he's like showing you like how he's devised these new shotgun shells and things like that, that can shoot various things besides lead. It's like, you'd think that some of these things would work better. And he like shoots one at like a stuffed dummy. And he's like, that one's full of rock pebbles. Works pretty good still. But this one, and he shoots it and like fire comes out, but like nothing hits the target. He's like, wood shards just don't work.
Basically, they'd be burning up as the propulsion action works on the gun, and then she's explaining like the whole chemistry and metallurgy of it. Maybe.
Well, I figured they caught on fire.
No, it's the balance and the weight of what you're trying to put the substances in. It's too thin or it's too thick. It's not activating when you want it. And so she gets into this trying to get into this big conversation about trying to help you.
And I think we actually figure something out.
Mm-hmm.
And like we get one that works, and it shoots little shrapnels of wood, like little stakes. And when they hit the target, they like catch the target on fire too. And Sure Shot just like loses his mind.
And she's clapping and she's like, oh, what fun. Oh my.
We're going to burn the house down with this one.
I thought you've secured this area.
Well, I mean, mostly secured. Hold on. He just like throws a tarp over it and like tackles it and is like hitting it to get it out.
And as you're doing that, she's starting to notice it's like those pipes are pumping gas for the light. Oh no. We've been literally in the middle of a powder keg here, except with gas.
I keep all the powder over there. But
the gas. We could have blown up doing this.
Everybody's got to die of something.
I love it. Pope, did you want to have a scene with Miss Blakely read the gay porn mags?
I think so, yeah. I think Pope would be extremely uncomfortable discussing this with anyone. Definitely not Sure Shot.
What are you implying, Pope?
Well, I think Pope would be uncomfortable in case Sure Shot misinterpreted his motivations in bringing this to his attention. He would be uncomfortable talking to Dr. Noble about it.
She is a doctor.
Ship it though. Dang it.
But Blakely, is kind of, in his perception, I think is the most worldly of the group, and the least likely to be shocked, offended, outraged. You know, that's the last reaction she would have. So he feels safer bringing it to her attention because I don't think he knows what to make of it. So yeah.
Are we
Perhaps.
still at the ballet place? Oh gosh, I forgot what it's called.
No, I think we're back at Hargrave
I think
House
everybody's
now.
back at Hargrave House.
Okay,
Yeah, I think Pope would not have brought that in his back pocket with him to the ballet.
That's fair. Yeah, I think Blakely's just in the salon having a very fancy looking drink. Like it's in a crystal champagne glass. It's very, very fancy. Yeah. She's sitting in a chair, kind of like she's sitting in a throne, because that's how she sits everywhere. Having a sip.
Miss Blakely, Mom, there is a somewhat delicate matter I wonder if I could discuss with you.
Delicate matters are my favorite. Do tell.
My young friend Kip found some material in the bins outside of the ballet studio, and he seemed to think it was potentially relevant to our investigation. I wonder if I might show it to you to see whether you can make anything of it, make any connection.
I can't see why not. I mean, let's take a look.
I must warn you, Mom, that this is material many would consider somewhat shocking. But
goodness, you are absolutely tantalizing me today. What is this? What is it? Tell me. I must know.
And I think Hope will just hand it over.
Goodness. Well then. And there's a montage of Blakely going through the material in detail. You know, you gotta make sure make sure you understand what you're looking at. That's proper investigation and such. And this child, Kip, you said, believes this is relevant to our investigation.
Yes, I'm not entirely sure I see the relevance myself, but
well, and she like opens up a page in the magazine and holds it up. You see, waving it around, there are quite a lot of things that young men get up to when they are in the proximity of other young men, especially when they're working long hours and practicing dance moves and very close, etc., etc., etc. Now, do you recall a number of years ago there were a string of suicides? If I recall correctly, and I'm sure I do, some of that was speculated to be related to a various amount of love affairs. If these magazines have any relevance to that, well, it does seem like perhaps this was a more sexual type of affair than romantic.
Feels like we're sliding into answer a question at this point. What do we think? You've got 10 clues. It's a lot.
We have lots of clues.
Yeah.
We're at a good place for it, I think.
I think the first thing is like, just what is the which question are you going to try to go after? There's one very easy one, but it's the more dangerous one. There's one that's much more complex and not particularly dangerous, but but is sort of allies you with the sculptor. So
Yeah.
what do we think? And then there's the middle result, of course.
I have, I think, a pretty good theory for the first question, but the answers to the questions are so like or the opportunities that are unlocked by the questions are like so important to the story arc that I don't want to like say that's the one we should go for if other people have other ones in mind.
It doesn't hurt to pitch it, right?
Yeah.
If you pitch it, and even if the other people have stuff in mind, if it's cool, we might run with it. Everybody likes a cool story.
Okay, let me get over to the clues, which is now not working. Reload the page. So the first question is, where is he doing his sculpting, right? I can't actually see the page right now because it's reloading.
Where does the sculptor carve their works?
Okay. We have got a number of clues for this Arctic region. There's a polar bear, there's a fox, there's this article about a ship, and I still can't see the clues. But I think that those things all point to that the sculptor works off location. He lures or tricks victims to go there somewhere in the Arctic, and that's how he accomplishes the freezing of them and the sculpting of them. I think that the frostbitten feet, I think, was another clue. I think that indicates that that's what happened. And I think the way that he lures or tricks them is some of them he seduces, as indicated by these by these magazines and things like that. Some of them he convinces that this is part of their ballet training, and he makes them starve themselves and things like this so that he can get them perfect for his sculpting. But he's telling them that this cold and this trip and all of this is part of their ballet training. And we know that he's good at tricking people and pretending to be different people. So
these latest round of victims, I guess it's probably appropriate to say that this latest round of victims, this all would have happened like during the off season, right? Like when they could have made such a trip. And then this Christmas season is he brings them back, right? Like, here's all the stuff I brought back from the Arctic, including these frozen gelded young men and a polar bear and a fox as well. I mean, it's an interesting, I don't know, it's interesting. I like it. What does everyone think?
My suggestion is just mostly dirty. I was thinking, what winter tradition does a sculptor still enjoy? Well, there's a lot of, I suppose, clues that would lean towards people meeting up at late hours in cold areas for certain activities to warm up, of course.
Is that a winter tradition?
I mean, it's warming up in the winter and it's cooling off in the summer.
It's his winter tradition.
Yes.
There are things like mistletoe but yeah, I'm struggling to come up with any other explanation for the frozen feet.
Skating. They just kind of making them do skating, but without skates.
Yeah, wasn't one of them found?
Frostbitten feet. It's the thing that Dr. Noble had found. That was not detectable by usual ordinary eyes.
Yeah, one of the bodies was found posed skating as well.
Yeah.
That's why I was like kind of like thinking about that as like being the winter tradition. And then
yeah, skating on a frozen lake.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Because skating on a frozen lake, if somebody has been to the Arctic, I mean, that's basically just one big giant frozen lake up there.
And it's like into that effect as well. I mean, see, the thing is, it's like I'm coming up with these connecting ideas, but it's trying to use one clue or two clues to answer like multiple questions. Because, I mean, conceivably, you could also say that's part of the training of the dancers. They have to be out in the snow, on the ice, dancing, ice dancing, skating, and then that's how they are frostbitten, frozen.
I mean, I think you can probably combine these two theories, right? Because, well, the tricky thing about David's theory for the first question is the opportunity implies that you are going to lay a trap for him in that place, and I don't think you're all going to like.
I think the trap
take passage on a ship to the Arctic.
No, I think now. I think the trap would be that we have identified the ship, and the next time it comes to port, we can corner him.
Yeah. So that would be one.
Unless
approach.
It's already in port, and that's why this is happening.
Yeah. Right. The other option, I mean, if you go with the second question, you can combine them by just saying that, like, you know, this is everything that happened, and while there, ice skating was something that, like, you know, he enjoyed doing while there or whatever, right? I mean, they could be combined, I think, but
yeah, I think think about, you have your MO, you know, excuse me. I also the frostbitten thing in terms of if this is related to ballet specifically this ballet, which is known for its very barbaric practices. Making somebody stand out in bare feet in the snow is a very Blakely thing to do. So I could see that happening as a punishment in this ballet.
Gagnon would definitely be using it as a disciplinary tool for sure.
Quite a lot of these clues point to the third question, which is how does the Royal Ballet train its featured dancers, right?
But that's the one that requires us to kind of sympathize with the
with the sculptor. Yeah, with the sculptor. Yeah.
Well, what I'm thinking is in terms of taking David's ideas and looping them into the winter tradition. If this you know, on a ship port of call, voyage to the Arctic person is in London, excuse me, and I'm losing my voice, and is doing this these murders, then excuse me. If they are kind of more obsessed with certain winter traditions, such as skating and ice dancing and ballet, that all sort of dancing idea, then it gives an explanation for the focus on the ballet, especially this ballet, if there are things like making the dancers stand out in the cold, making the dancers practice ice skating, making et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Maybe even if if the sculptor used to be a dancer, I don't know. However they would know that, I'm not sure.
There's also a religious angle here as well, right? Because the other two bodies, one was found praying and one was found crucified, and there's the fact that the person that brought us to our attention is a rabbi, and also the dancer that Blakely encountered, who was evidently a Muslim.
Yeah.
So that's like your three Abrahamic religions represented, and I'm not clear how to tie it in, but it feels like that can't be irrelevant.
One sculpture was found skating, another sculpture was found praying, and then the last was found crucified.
Right.
So there's definitely a religious bent here, but
yeah, but there's like none of those are clues that like we have to incorporate.
Right. But I'm just saying,
but
like, if you want to try to tie it in,
right? I mean,
right.
Yeah. They're lowercase c clues.
Yeah, it might just be that's part of the sculptor's aesthetic.
Yeah.
That he's trying to say something with his art about faith. But like it's not like how we know what he does or what his tradition is or how the Royal Ballet trains their people, except like, yeah, it might be, I don't know. What if the ballet does train its dancers by like making them stand on ice or things, and like they bring, like this Arctic ship brings big blocks of ice in, like they order it in, and he's like tied to that process of like acquiring them. But that like gives him, but like he also like loves ice skating, and that's like all kind of just part of this.
Maybe something on the ship. Maybe like because they have all this ice on the ship, maybe they do like an impromptu ice skating thing on the ship, just like a little pastime.
Yeah, or he tells them like this is part of your training, and it might even kind of be part of their training in some more legitimate fashions, but it's an easy way to get them to come to the place. But he also just loves ice skating.
Sorry, I'm like looking up what I can on the Cortigiani Vil Razza Danata.
Yeah, I wonder if that's relevant. It's an interesting.
So I basically I looked up the lyrics, and it's like something about a fellow who is railing against the courtiers who took away his daughter. Give me my daughter back. To me, my daughter is everything. Where's she hidden? All this kind of stuff. So I'm like, what the hell?
Well, the important part of that might also be just the fact that it was a castrato, the
Right.
voice of a castrato singing, and of course the victims are all castrati.
I think like part of the answer might be the Nutcracker or the Sculptor has been legitimized by the ballet. Like he's bringing in ice, he's helping make things happen castrato wise. He's bringing them exotic animals from his travels. He's training, quote unquote, some of the dancers, and they're all turning a blind eye to it. And they don't, maybe because they don't think that he would actually stoop to killing, but like somebody in there probably has put it together.
It might explain why everybody at the ballet is being very cagey about the whole thing, right?
Right. And it's implicated that like he lurks about the place, and they haven't found him. Sure.
What if this is a Phantom of the Opera situation?
Right.
We've got this weirdo who's showing up at this ballet, messing up stuff, clearly focusing in on individual dancers, especially when you think of, I mean, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm not even gonna try and pronounce the name of that song, but it is, if I recall correctly, an aria.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not like a bunch of singers. It's just one person singing a song, like a solo song. And these different dancers were all picked off solo, I suppose. It wasn't like a bunch of people got kidnapped and frozen.
I'm trying to remember if he said, like, what he said to Dr. Noble when he first invaded Hargrave House, which was did he say something like he's saving the boys? I mean, I feel like he said something to that effect.
Oh.
Because I mean,
he had a quote.
Gagnon.
I can tell you the quote. The quote if you don't was, mind, if you're referring to the quote was, I remember the first time I saw the ballet. It was magic. To see the human form frozen in air sparked a warmth in me the frigid rains of London never could extinguish. I snuck in often, posing as a lady's child, an usher, a part of the cast. When I was finally caught, they offered me an audition, given how well I could adapt. They said with a bit of training, I would never be caught again. Those words may be the only truths that haven't melted with time. So he was part of the show at some point, or connected to the...
Yeah, it feels like there's some... They know who he is. They're covering up for him.
I think he brings in ice. I think he's doing castrations like for them. I think he's like
the castration thing would be, I mean, the castratos, that's more of like a vocal performance thing, right? That's the...
But didn't they actually used to do that though?
They did.
So yeah, some
for castratos,
before this time.
I don't know if they did that frequently in Victorian times.
No, but maybe these people
Renaissance
do.
Thing. Yeah.
But maybe this ballet does still.
Right.
Interesting.
Got to keep up the traditions, Very British.
This is one hell of a winter tradition I don't want to see.
Yeah. Well, so like the castratos were like, it was because it like kept their voice high, right?
Yes.
That was the idea, right, for singers. Now, I'm not sure why the ballet dancers, they would have done that. Like,
right, maybe they're multi-talented performances. Like maybe there's opera and ballet incorporated.
Oh, interesting.
Or maybe that interest in the ballet is diminishing. as the world gets bigger, I mean, there's all the actors and such, stage actors from the Americas, and now we have, video sort of things, because even in this time there were, well, not like video, but pictures.
It would have been moving pictures. It would have been very rare. Very
yeah,
rare.
very rare.
Yeah.
But it was still a thing that just started happening. Traveling shows that traveled the whole world. I mean, how could a ballet compete with that?
So they were trying to like create like the perfect dancer, the perfect sort of like experience. That's interesting. Have them sing. It's an intriguing idea. Well,
force a triple threat.
Yeah, which question are we going for here? I think we should probably focus on that. I mean, which one are you all interested in doing?
Right.
So many.
I love chaos. I would go with the third one, but I don't know if it would really fit with the story that we are building here. We would really have to make it stretch, I think. So I think I would go with one of the first two. I'm kind of leaning more towards the second, mostly because I could see Blakely would just destroy this person because she doesn't care. But I feel like the other people in Hargrave House would lean towards luring a serial killer into the police.
And I wonder if we could speculate that the tradition he enjoys could that tie into this final performance, that there's a tradition of
they're bringing in enough ice to do an ice dance performance,
right? And it's like a Christmas Eve special performance. That
would be quite the spectacular thing.
Especially with a live polar bear. Yeah.
And with like operatic singing, even if the dancers are singing and ice dancing with polar bears, I mean, you can't replicate that.
So is ice dancing the winter tradition we're going with, or ice skating? Is that the idea? So then let's talk about clues. What are the suicides? Do the suicides have anything to do with this, or is it a red herring?
I mean, like, just for a narrative point of view, and I wasn't necessarily thinking of the questions. It's more of because of what the boy ghost had said, and then I think it's part of the training, because when you get a little out of hand in the training and the disciplinary actions, then they could just as easily say it's, hey, string of suicides, they couldn't take it, but it ends up being murder. So I mean, like, that's what keeps popping in my mind about that particular clue.
Because if you have a dancer who isn't up to par, you could keep dismissing and dismissing and dismissing dancers, but that might start to look bad.
I agree with that. I think that speaks more to the third question, though, than the second question, which is the winter tradition, right?
But then for the winter tradition, then bottoms of Massimo's feet, for
that
sure,
one makes more sense. Yeah.
And
it sounds like maybe just all this sort of like connected stuff related to the Arctic, those probably all get looped in together. What do we think is the connection there with the winter tradition?
It's how he's getting the ice here.
Yeah, they're bringing
the ice in. Got it. Okay, love that.
Not just bringing the ice in too. I think specifically bringing in the polar bear, like what Rob was saying, as a sort of spectacular thing to throw into the show. Perhaps the fox accidentally showed up. Maybe he was brought and then escaped, and then but either way, it doesn't matter. It all points to
the sculptor's connection to the Arctic, though, right? I think that's the important part.
And I will say, I mean, for whatever reason, I'm getting like the touch of the Fae kind of feel to this, because you could just as easily say with the side character of the old woman, maybe there truly is a Snow Queen.
Let's talk
maybe
about
she's the Winter Fae, you know?
Miss Blakely, I did want to bring this up at some point. even though you're all about to answer the question now, you can still bring the music box to the Snow Queen, and she might give you a different kind of clue, maybe a mastermind clue. I don't know.
Oh, I'm super gonna do that. It's gonna be great.
Let's keep going here. So the final performance is just related to all that. So that makes sense. Practicing at late hours is maybe practicing for the final performance, which involves a combination of ice dancing, singing, and ballet itself.
Maybe they only risk uncovering the ice at night to keep it as cold as possible.
As cold as possible, yeah. I like that. That's great.
I like that a lot. That's really smart.
The castrato thing makes sense because they're incorporating singing into this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You're doing pretty good here. I think the two that don't fit are the historical pieces about the dancers. I don't see the connection for this question. What about the magazines?
Body movement, form.
Oh, very
pictures
good.
Pictures of poses.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, sensual poses. What's more spectacular than that?
There is a sensual component to the final performance. Very good. Nothing surprising based off everything we've seen so far. So that's pretty good. That gives you 8 clues on 6 on a 6 complexity. So that's great. Who wants to make the roll?
Maybe the emaciation is also part of it, because very, very pragmatically, they're like starving these dancers so that way, like if they fall on the ice, there's less mass of them to like hit the ground and get hurt permanently. Like they need delicate light.
The only thing about these 2 clues is that they are historical clues. This is like from several years ago, and like, is there a connection between the suicides and the commentary about the suicides and what's going on right now?
There is. This has been tried before.
Okay.
Gagnon and the Sculptor have tried to do this before.
So Gagnon,
and
everybody tried to commit suicide because they were so distraught by it.
Yeah, it's just.
And so it failed.
And because they couldn't tell anyone, because Gagnon was part of it, so there was no way for them to raise the alarm about this.
I mean, it's not like there's a dancers union,
It's horrifying. It's good.
And maybe it's some years ago. That's how long it takes to do another voyage to the Arctic.
You've got +4. Who wants to roll?
Sure. What the hell? All right, so 4 + 4 is 8.
Very good. It
nice.
Is correct, and you will be able to was it lure the police or what is it? Resolve the threat by celebrating with the Sculptor, luring them into the hands of the police. Oh, that's interesting. You get to celebrate. I like it. It's going to be complicated and hard because of the 8, but that's okay. Let's go to the dusk phase. The dusk phase. Let's do our moves here. We have to do the quickening. We have to do day work. The resurrectionists. Yeah. So who wants to do their thing first? Go ahead. Sure shot.
9. So I think that means I take the condition drained.
Take drained, but it's otherwise sorted. Let's go to day work. Which one do you want for day work, Pope?
I'd like to ask a question. Sorry, I'm just consulting the threads.
There's really nothing kind of active right now. I mean,
yeah, I was thinking of for the Reaver's last victim, whether there's anything useful I could ask there.
Yeah, I don't even know if it really applies because you have so much, that's such like player controlled thing, like I'm not even sure like what I would have to offer as far as that goes.
Right.
We can just skip it for now.
Okay,
or no, you can find something of use in the house.
Yeah, I could find something of use in the house.
Yeah. Say what it is and give it to another hunter. They add it to their personal quarters.
Give me a minute to think about that. I would like to give something to Miss Blakely following our conversation, but I just need to think about what it would be.
Sounds good. Are the resurrectionists going to work tonight, Dr. Noble? It's a cold winter night, hard earth.
They are, but I mean, that might actually help their mission, but I mean, I'm going to be very specific to Harley about it.
Okay.
She's going to talk to Harley before they go out on their nights.
We can have that scene.
Yeah.
When we go to the night phase.
Yep.
All right. Let's talk about Hargrave House. And I think we have to do the conservatory. A former hunter in residence turned out to be the legendary killer known as Roger the Reaver. The conservatory, and here we mean like a glass enclosure with plants and things. The conservatory was his favorite room in Hargrave House. Looking around, how do you know this?
Blakely has intimate knowledge because she was around when this particular hunter was also around, and he spent a lot of time in the conservatory. He was really prone to whittling, like with a knife and wood. So you can, if you look closely, even though it's been swept and cleaned up, it's still a conservatory. It's not exactly a sterile environment. You can still see little bits of sliced wood shavings around of various pieces of wood that can't be grown in a conservatory, sort of around where the benches used to be before people moved them in order to stop the association with this particular person.
Yeah, and I think maybe even the knife that he used for that whittling is what Pope is going to find and give to Miss Blakely. An elegant, ivory-handled whittling knife.
Roger the Reaver's whittling knife. Very good. What about the conservatory? How do we know it was his favorite room in the house?
It looks out over the kind of gardens behind Hargrave House that are shared between various houses, and it might be that Roger the Reaver enjoyed watching potential victims as they moved around outside. So he sat in that conservatory for a long periods of time, looking out at the people outside and sizing them up.
There was a garden box that he insisted on tending to himself during his stay, that after he was captured and brought to justice, somebody else had to clean it out after the winter, and it was discovered in the soil he left his trophies, the heads of victims.
Nice.
He would be known for leaving a little bit of a calling card. Herbs strewn around the victim. Some kind of, nothing too exotic, but more of like to be like aromatics. So when he had killed his victims, they weren't going to be, too tainted, like per se, of the smell of death. So he did grow some of his own aromatics in the conservatory.
Very good. What's everyone doing tonight? Sure shot. Or what do you want to do?
So I think that I will I assume that we're going to try to pull off a scheme where we participate in some kind of festivity.
You have to go ice skating with the sculptor.
Basically. Yeah, we have to go ice skating with the sculptor. And I think I'm just planning on like setting up a nest in the shadows to try and keep him there if it comes to it.
Very good. So what is the ice skating venue? Is it on this ship? Is there somewhere in the city where they have an ice skating rink? That would be really something, but it's possible.
In the winter, probably.
Yeah, in the winter,
somewhere.
Yeah, like a lake or even
a
pond or something.
One of the bodies was found on a lake, right?
Yeah.
So it could be there. It could be at the ballet where they keep their ice.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about how fast the Thames runs. Does it freeze over enough for people to skate?
I don't think so.
I think it has done once or twice in history, but yeah, not.
Okay, it's not normally.
Yeah.
So don't do that. You'll die.
Yeah, in Victorian times, there would have certainly been lakes and tributary rivers in the parks that would have frozen over. It doesn't really happen anymore.
Yeah.
Okay.
So maybe there's a particular lake that you are going to go ice skating on, and because it's you, it will lure especially if it's Dr. Noble, it will lure the sculptor to engage. Dr. Noble, what are you doing?
I'm up for that scheme.
Being the bait.
Yeah, because well, it's Yeah, I mean, I think it could lead into like my mask of apathy. I think I'm just like, just wheels are turning. But yeah, I mean, it would be a way of facing that particular memory down, to be on the ice somewhere. If we could just like isolate a park, I guess nearby Covent Garden, that has the amount of space needed for doing such a thing. Yeah.
Ms. Blickley, what would you like to do tonight?
I think that works for me too, because I want to bring this music box to this weird lady. One reason is to get rid of it. It's weird and it's giving me weird delusions, and I don't like that. And also, maybe get something out of it. I don't know. We'll see. And then it's really close to where this skating thing is happening, so it should be fine.
It all works well together. Good.
Beautiful.
Pope.
Yeah, I don't think Pope is going to be doing any skating himself, but certainly will be in attendance on Dr. Noble.
Very good. Janice Mast, Pope, I think you have marked one, and then also everybody has to do the Mask of Apathy, where you were hurt deeply and no one cared. That's your flashback. So think on it. If anybody wants to go now, you can do it now, or you can wait till the dawn.
I was going to go ahead and do the Mask of Apathy one now.
Go for it.
So I think, yeah, we see Pope as a young child. His mother was also in service. His father had died when he was extremely young, but he lived in a small house with his mother, who would go off to work every day, and one day she just simply never came back, and she had died in an accident in the house where she worked. And Pope was just left on his own, and it was some days before anyone even turned up to discover him, and that person was the rent collector, demanding that rent be paid. Pope was unable to do that. His mother had disappeared. Nobody had bothered to contact him about what had happened. And the next thing we know, Pope is out on his ear and sleeping rough in the streets of the East End of London.
Very good. Would anybody else like to do the Mask of Apathy?
Could you repeat the description of it? Sorry.
Oh, yeah, it's each hunter narrates a flashback to a time they were hurt deeply and no one cared.
Mads, were you?
Yeah, I was gonna do mine because it's like I'm hoping it leads into when we do our thing at nighttime. So near the, I'm just looking this up now. There was like a glycerium in like near Covent Garden. Skating an extra shilling. But anyway, something similar to that. That Dr. Noble and her family would go to on a regular basis. But there was a time where her parents were busy, or her mother was no longer there, and her father was definitely more into his work and did not want to see his knowledge-starved daughter very much. And so she would have to amuse herself and play by herself. So she would go to the skating place as much as she could, but usually by herself. And then there was a point where, very cold day, but evidently not cold enough that the ice was firm. And she makes her way out onto the ice, no one else around, looks at the ice in fascination because she could see the cracks, she could see the water bubbling underneath, but thinking that she was safe and that it wasn't going to move. She was just going to go out a little farther and look. And then as she goes out a little farther, she hears the distinct of the ice under her weight. And then she starts to go through with a crash, and she feels the water dragging her down. She feels the weight of the cold in her bones, and she's reaching up through the ice out of this water to try to make her way out. Somehow she does. She doesn't know how. She almost feels like she blacked out for a few seconds before she came to somehow, back on the ice, breathing hard, seeing her breath create gigantic clouds in the air, with relief that she's alive. But then, looking around, no one around to care. She drags herself home. The servants are busy. And her father's not there.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to do the Mask of Apathy?
Yeah, I think that the first time the moon forced Sure Shot to remove his man mask, he suffered great pain and hurt somebody that he didn't mean to hurt, and hurt some other people that maybe he did mean to hurt. And when the moon went down and the sun came up and he managed to get his mask back on, the only people who should have cared about him, and the people that he went to crying, blood-soaked, and battered, didn't care about him. They only cared about alerting somebody to his activities.
Awesome.
I can do my Mask of Apathy as well. We flash back to, well, Blakely is watching all of this happen with the skating, the ideas, and it's really kind of bringing her back to her childhood, which she does not like to remember, because it was quite a while ago. But there was a time in her young adulthood, whether or not she had been a young adult for a while, who knows, doesn't matter, where she was out watching people skate and dance on the ice, and this is something she liked to do. She always wanted to be able to do it, but fear of falling through, just it was never going to happen. And at one point she's watching a young person skate out on the ice and dancing, and Blakely is jealous of this person being able to get out there and do this. And they are graceful and beautiful. And then there's that very distinctive and the person falls through the ice. Blakely, in a very, well, not normal for Blakely, but she skids out on her front, on her belly, towards where this hole in the ice is, to pull this young person out by under their arms, and throws them back up on the surface of the ice so they cannot drown or fall through again. As this is happening, she can hear someone yelling for her. Jane, where are you? You haven't done the laundry yet. Get back here, get back here. And this young Blakely looks at this young child that she just pulled out of the ice and skids away as fast as she can.
Very good. Thank you. The unseen. Tonight's unseen is going to be oh, this one's done. Let's work that one. Let's do, oh, well, let's do an evening promenade in Covent Garden. Feels like an appropriate one. It's the very last row, first one in the last row. Covent Garden houses a large market, selling mostly fruit, vegetables, and fresh flowers, recently covered by a new market building. While most of the stalls have packed up by the time dusk falls, the area is still abuzz with visitors. Both the Royal Opera House and the Theatre Royal can be found here. And while it has cleaned up its image a little bit, it still has a reputation for hosting ladies of the evening. Everyone does the first prompt. Second prompt will be Matt's. Third prompt will be, and fourth prompt will be Rob. Let's take a 5-minute break. We'll come back and do the thing. Everyone, as crowds gather for evening performances and market porters clear down stalls, describe how this place is a crossroads for all strata of London society.
You can hear the market porters like yelling at each other or yelling at their assistants to get everything packed up and out of the way now. And then you also start seeing the society folks that are gathering for the evening performances, either in their own handsomely decked out cabs and carriages, and then like of course like the people passing through from their work for the day, and just kind of going through and seeing what they can get from the market as it closes so they can bring it home for a possible meal. So everybody dressed to the nines, to people just trying to keep the blood off their apron for as much as they can.
We're good.
Just at the edge of the market, there is a flower stand. They have a variety of fresh flowers, beautifully arranged. And as people go into the Royal Opera House and the Theatrale, and also the various other places around, sketchy or not, a lot of people are just buying flowers. We see a beautiful Black woman with a large sapphire on her neck buying a variety of beautiful blue roses. We see a young man clearly dressed up in his finest, which has been patched multiple times, with a hat that he probably borrowed from his father, buying a single rose for his amour. And this is just where everybody goes to buy their flowers to impress whoever they're trying to impress that evening.
Yeah, I think we see a young girl who is the daughter of one of the flower market vendors, and her last task of the day, as her father's packing up the stall, is to take some of the unsold flowers and then stand outside the theater or the opera house and try and sell these last few blooms to the people going in, that they can throw to the performers at the end of the show. So her ragged hand-me-down clothes contrast with these very finely tailored ladies and gentlemen.
I think that the outside of the opera and theater, there's like a bandstand where different groups will get up there to do like performances, or like little small performances to kind of drum up attention and to get people to want to go to the shows. And there are a number of like less fortunates, or like people with less means, that like to gather there, and they get closest, and then the people who like are coming for the shows but want to see these pre-shows, like stand behind them, because they got their second, and then all of the market people who are just trying to buy and sell, once they get their shop closed, they come in and they kind of intermingle and get in their third. So it's a real slice of society right there near the bandstand.
Harley White is out back with you, Dr. Noble, and he says, "What sort of work are we getting up to tonight, Doctor?"
Harley, you know I appreciate everything that you've done for the past, excursions.
I do wonder what you're doing with all these parts, ma'am, though I know it's ultimately none of my business.
Too true. Let's just say it's scientific research. Tonight, or if it have to be, future nights, this is a very special expedition for you and your crew. I am looking for a head. And it cannot just be any head. It should be male. It should be relatively young, but not a child. Someone that perhaps in their 20s or 30s. Possibly looking like, I don't know if you know him, possibly from the billboards. The dancer looks a little bit like the famous dancer Massimo Asani. Looks like him, but not him.
He nods. It may take a few nights to find a body such a head with such specific requirements, Doctor, but we'll do our best.
I understand. I mean, I'm not expecting miracles. It's perfectly fine. But this part is very important.
Everyone else, please describe how your character is getting ready for this winter jaunt. How do you look? How are you dressed? That's different than you normally would.
I think Pope has on a very heavy coat. It doesn't, it's smart without being ostentatious. It doesn't have a fancy fur collar or anything, but it's, obviously heavy, bulky, long, comes down to below his knees. He could conceal things in that coat if necessary. And he has on a hat that pulls down over his ears. So that, his head is kept warm, and a heavy scarf, but all in dark, muted colors.
Love it. And Miss Blakely?
Yeah, Blakely is not any of that. She is decked out to the nines. The already over the top ostrich feather cape that she normally wears has been replaced with this giant fur thing. It's very big. It is a cape, but it's more like a throne that she just kind of walks around in. The ruby encrusted riding crop is with her as always, but there's also rubies just lining the seams of this coat that she is wearing. Her dress is basically just stitched with jewels. It's way over the top, kind of in a bad way, but no, amazing.
Shusha?
I think he's wearing kind of his normal thing, his duster and all of that. But he's preparing for the night by sewing in a couple straps into the inside of the duster to hold this oversized cleaver.
Very interesting. Mads, a young girl sells bouquets outside the flower hall, made up from the leftovers of the day's trade. Who comes to her to buy, and who are they taking the flowers to?
There is a young man who is, again, one of the passerbys that's rushing home from his workplace that is across the way from Covent Garden, the flower hall, and the big market. And as he's rushing past, he doesn't want to get near to the fancier flower sellers that are near to the entrance of the theater or Covent Garden, because there's just a mass of people that are getting ready to go into the performances. So he sees the young girl selling the ready-made bouquets, and he can see their quality. It's like, like more than wilted. Some of them are a bit crushed, but he doesn't care. He knows he's in trouble with his wife at home. And he knows that he needs to bring something to appease her before he comes home from work. And so he goes to her and, does a hurried negotiation, and then is very glad to have 2 bouquets for the price. They're, again, crushed, a little faded, but he knows that he's doing a nice thing.
You all have hired a carriage because the 4 of you are going to the same place. And the carriage is taking you out to Covent Garden. And it's a busy night. Streets are busy. Lots of people are out. Holiday revelers, Christmas revelers, winter revelers. Before you get to Covent Garden and this ice skating pond, Miss Blakely, you see the Snow Queen still a few blocks away.
Stop the cab at this intersection, please. Don't go away though. Please just wait. I'll only be a moment. Goodness, imagine.
You get out, but the carriage keeps going.
I said.
Everyone else, looking back perhaps as you see Miss Blakely disappearing into the background along with the Snow Queen, you all get to Covent Garden, and the traffic is quite slowed down because there is a very, very big sort of like thing to see that's happening here. So the Queen, for several years, has started in Buckingham Palace the tradition of a Christmas tree, a great coniferous tree decorated with baubles. And it's become fashionable to have Christmas trees. And so they have erected a gigantic Christmas tree here, and it's a whole display. There are men dressed up like Nutcracker soldiers marching around the Christmas tree. All of the baubles on the Christmas tree, the balls, the various decorations, the tinsel, it's all beautiful sapphire blue going up all the way to the top. And at the very, very top is one of the dancers, Sasha, tied to the top of the tree, arms and legs splayed as if he is the star tree topper. He looks terrified. And you hear someone down below, like on the ground, because you're still in the carriage. You hear someone say, "What's that smell? It smells like kerosene or something." Just a bit of narration there for that one from me. Amanda, what scenes of high drama do we see play out on the stage of the Royal Opera House? And how do we see these same tragedies and romances play out on the street outside?
Oh my goodness, there's so many dramatic scenes on the stage. That is what this opera is known for. And outside, over and over and over. However, in this situation, the camera cuts to the opera. The opera is goodness, I should have thought about this. The opera is a reenactment of the Lady of Shalott by Tennyson, and we see her floating down the river, waiting to die because of her love and how strong it is. And the view cuts to outside the theater on the steps, and we see a man holding another man's hand, like, please, he says, don't go, don't leave me. And I mean, these are both young men, very well dressed, clearly came to the show. The man standing up the steps, I can't I have obligations. I have a whole life. And I'm sorry it doesn't include you. And he disappears up the steps. The other man, the rejected man, kind of sinks down on his knees in the shadows. Well, half shadowed. And he looks up at the are there marquees? I'm gonna say there is one. Don't worry. And he looks up that and he does say, I am also half sick of shadows. How could this happen? And then he just folds it on himself in a very dramatic pose while the flower seller selling the last of the flowers, the very dregs of the flowers, looks on and shakes her head because she's seen this so many times before.
I love it. Miss Blakely, the Snow Queen, says, Miss Blakely, have you brought my tribute?
Well, yes. You asked me to bring you a thing. You promised me something in return. I hope it's going to be very good. I hope it's going to be worth it because, as you can see, my ride just took off. Well, nonetheless, here's this broken music box.
She takes it and she says, and she winds it and opens it.
Oh, goodness, don't do that. You're going to,
And she plays it and she's dancing to this strange melody. It's not the Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairies, it's something else. It's a strange melody. She's dancing and she says, let me tell you a story, Miss Blakely, a story about the birth of our Lord. And she begins to tell you a story about Christ's birth. But the story has all the details that you know from the Bible, but it has other details that are not in the Bible. Everyone gets to say a detail that she tells.
I'm going to need a moment because of Catholic upbringing.
The wise men, the three wise men, instead it is three magi and a queen, and all the gifts are the same, but the queen presents a sapphire.
Very good. I was actually going to do that. You
I was going to do something very similar.
Yeah. But that's the mastermind clue, right? So yeah. Don't know if we even need to do anything else, but everybody else can.
I don't know how to top that. That was so good.
We can leave it there. I like it.
I wonder if the only change detail is, or one of the change details is the environment is instead of being in a presumably, and excuse my total ignorance of the Bible here, but presumably in a hot place, it's actually in a frozen,
like a very cold
environment.
Frozen
a cold frozen town.
Yeah.
The stable, they're sheltering the stable from the cold and the ice outside.
I mean, location wise, it wouldn't be unbelievable that during a cold spurt, there would be snow and freezing temperatures, etc., etc. Well, if we're talking about like Jerusalem, etc. Still interesting. I love it. I love it.
I want to add that what they don't mention that she says, and it could be stylized, it could be just hyperbole out the wingus, but outside as the gifts are being presented, there are showers of faded and crushed flower petals.
And I think the star that appears in the night sky that night, it is a star, but its light isn't, it fluctuates. It's sapphire, it's red, it's yellow, it's white, it's all these different colors throughout the entire night.
I would just add one detail that to shade David's offering a little bit. There are still 12 witnesses to the birth of Christ, but this queen with the offering of sapphire is the 13th witness to the birth of Christ. And so everyone else, there's a dancer posed as the star topper on this gigantic Christmas tree decorated in Theodora's colors. And there are Nutcracker soldiers marching around and a strong smell of kerosene or some kind of oil. And you can see now that the Nutcrackers are getting ready to light fireworks. What do you all do? I don't know if, I think people are just now starting to realize there's a man on top of the tree. And
I feel like I'm not
there.
there.
Oh yeah, no, you're not there, Miss Blakely. This is for the others.
Ooh.
You hear like people crying out like, "But there's a man up there. There's a man. Wait. Sure shot, what do you do?
I yell to Pope and kind of signal. I think the tree is stabilized by big ropes in several directions. That like I'm trying to convey to him that like I'm gonna start cutting some of them with this great big cleaver. And he needs to grab onto another one so we can kind of ease the tree down and get the guy off the top.
That seems like a good plan. Dr. Noble, one of the Nutcrackers turns to you. He has a bottle rocket in his hand that he's lighting, and he looks at you and says, "Merry Christmas, Dr. Noble." And he points the bottle rocket in the direction of the tree topper dancer. Let's go to the final.
Can I do anything?
What do you do? What do you want? What do you say? What do you do?
I just whip out the gun that I got from Sure Shot, and I have those things in it, like at least 1 or 2 rounds of those things in it, and I shoot.
Very good. Let's go.
It's the ones with the slivers of wood that fire. I mean, if it's him, I don't care at this point.
I love it.
She's just reacting.
I love it. It's good. Well, we shall get the resolution when we get back. Let's go to the final bit of Covent Garden. Rob, in a gin palace later in the evening, sex workers and actors sit side by side enjoying a drink after a busy night. How do we see the kinship they feel for each other?
I think the group is sitting there and they're in quite high spirits. There's somebody playing a piano and they're singing. And we see one of the sex workers is clearly friends with a group of actors. And in fact, she has in the past and potentially in the future worked as an actor herself. And we see that there is occasionally some crossover between these two professions. An actor who finds themselves fallen on hard times, unable to secure a role at the moment, may supplement their income. And generally it's obvious to us that some of these people from these two different worlds know each other well, and actually those two worlds are really one.
Very good. Very good. I think we'll start with Dr. Noble because that might stop the sculptor from firing off the bottle rocket. He might drop it or whatever. So Dr. Noble, do the night move. What are you afraid is going to happen if you fail?
He's going to get a chance to throw that bottle rocket, and then he's going to set everything aflame, and then burning Sasha in the process, and possibly like causing collateral damage among everything else.
It's worse than that. I'm not sure how, but it's worse than that.
I have an idea.
Oh, sure. What do you think?
He'll move surprisingly fast, get a hold of you and guide your hand so you shoot the fire where he directs it.
Oh, very good. That's pretty good. Okay, so let's talk about dice. I think this is definitely composure, and I think because of Most Beloved, I'm putting you at disadvantage.
Okay. Two plus 1 is 3, plus 2 is 5.
Merry Christmas, Dr. Noble. And he has like the little like pole arm of the Nutcracker, and he smacks the gun out of your hand and then reaches into the cabin or into the carriage and puts the bottle rocket in your hand. It fires off, hits Sasha. He goes up in flames. There's a flaming star atop the Christmas tree. You can hear his screams punctuating a Christmas carol being sung down below. We Three Kings. You can let that stand, and you can still stop the Nutcracker. I mean, or still stop the Sculptor. Sure Shot and Pope can still stop him, or you can mark the Janus mask to have a chance of saving Sasha.
I mean, that's drama, I'll tell you. But I'm definitely marking Mask of the Past. Oh my God. Yeah. Oh God.
Instead, you do shoot him, and he collapses. He's scrambling for the bottle rocket. He's trying to get away. So it's just going to be on Pope and Sure Shot to either catch him or stop him or whatever. Like Pope, what do you do here?
Yeah, I think Pope, as soon as he hears Dr. Noble's voice, is, this plan Sure Shot was putting into motion of trying to bring the tree down is gone from his mind, and he immediately races to Dr. Noble's defense and tackles the man she shot before he can recover himself.
Yeah, I like that. There's still a problem with Sure Shot. The other Nutcrackers, they are lighting up a fireworks display. It's very possible a spark could catch Sasha. What do you do, Sure Shot? You can try to do the tree thing. I mean, if you
know I might just be on my own trying to do that. Yeah, I think I'm just on my own with this plan. And I think when I see that that Pope's not by my side, like, I revise the plan and I rush the tree trunk and try and like chop it down.
Could this be a Mask of the Man thing?
So the way I wrote that, it's that I can't do that when I have drained.
Okay.
So drained might be coming into play here as like inhibiting me, but perhaps I'm using this cleaver to achieve this chopping.
It is a big cleaver,
it balances out.
Yeah, it is a big cleaver. I think it'll balance out. It'll be vitality. What are you afraid is going to happen if you fail?
If I fail, I'm afraid that the tree will catch on fire before I can do anything about it, or that I'll be, or that I won't be able to do anything about it at all, and it'll catch on fire.
And it's worse than that. Oh, I think it's worse than that. I think like it creates a fire in the whole area. It becomes just a big conflagration, and everyone's Christmas memories become Christmas horror. Have at it. Vitality.
All right, here we go. 8 on the dice plus 1 for vitality is 9.
9. You'll be fine. You got it. No problem. I think that you will not be able to save an innocent person who is killed during this, even though you save the dancer. Someone else just gets hurt in the tree coming down.
And
but
apathetic.
Describe the scene.
Yeah. All right. So I'm running past and I get to the bottom of the tree, and it's thick and it's in something that's holding it there. And I look over and I see that the ropes are still holding it, like this plan hasn't happened. And I draw my gun and I shoot 2 of the ropes so they snap. And then I just start taking the cleaver to the trunk of the tree and like easing the tree over, which is maybe like not even humanly possible to ease it over slowly enough that this guy wouldn't just get clobbered by being on the top of it. But I do somehow manage to slow it just enough so he doesn't get killed. But it's a big tree and it's coming down. And there's an apathetic flower seller who has seen it all before, who gets hit by some of the branches as they're coming down.
Oh no. Very good. Very good. The Snow Queen. All in the distance, Miss Blakely, you and the Snow Queen see the tree going down.
Did you hear that?
You hear the chaos. People are screaming. All this stuff is going on. There's a gunshot.
Goodness.
And the Snow Queen takes your hand and she says, "Merry Christmas, dear. Merry Christmas."
Don't like being touched.
What do you do?
Christmas, yes. That's a whole religious thing. Yes, that's not my whole deal. How dedicated are you, Your Majesty, to this Christmas thing?
She looks at you and she says, I believe in faith, Miss Blakely, and I put my faith wherever I think it serves the most people.
Well, my dear, I believe you and I have made a very wonderful acquaintance.
Are you making her a worshiper?
I am going to use giveth. Yes, okay. Please.
Very good. You have to just end the scene by describing how she debases herself in front of you.
My dear, I have a request of you that will be in, of course, the interest of all of London. Hold on, I just need to check my personal quarters for a moment. This music box I've given you, the one that plays a strange tune that you were so excited to receive, I would actually prefer that you bring it to Brathwaite Hall and give it to
the Queen, she says.
Ah, the Queen indeed. Yes, that will do. That will do. Please tell her it's a gift.
She will do so. And you scar your reflection for taking a worshiper. But note that the Snow Queen is now your worshiper. And that feels like a good tee up for the eventual confrontation with Theodora. And so ends the night phase. The
As usual, the undeniable does nothing helpful.
The sculptor was caught. He was grabbed by the police and taken in, and the situation is resolved. Let's talk about rewards. This one has some very, very intriguing rewards, actually. Shall pop that into the chat.
Gotta take the first one.
Yeah, I was just going to say that one's way too tempting.
Yeah, so, yeah, just whoever's marking that, that's your choice, but it's obviously everybody participates in it. We'll talk about that in a moment. What about the other choices?
I'm happy to take the first one if people want the other ones, because I feel like the only thing that Blakely has done is kind of make connections. Vague, terrible connections, but some connections.
Yeah, you got a few clues for this one.
I'd be interested in the rabbi one, because now that Dr. Noble's very close to finishing the child, I think it's going to be an interesting conversation.
Yeah. The Sure Shot has a connection to the rabbi as well. But in any case, that becomes that's one where one person chooses, but it becomes for everybody. So
does anybody have the cosmic passage marked?
I was just going to check whether I do. I feel like
I do.
I know Dr. Noble does because she just did Old Bones.
Okay.
I do as well, yeah. So
one of y'all should take that.
I think I do, yeah. Yeah, I do.
So Pope, do you want to take the one with the Ring of Solomon?
Yep, sounds good.
So David, is it going to be the bottle of human testicles, or?
I think that was already a gift to Dr. Noble.
I don't know if it ended up in personal quarters or not.
I don't think I want that.
It's in the flesh terrarium with everything else. So go along with the foot that I got
or the ice pick added to serial killer weapon collection.
Oh man!
Add the ice pick to the cleaver.
I know I could just have sharp things. I just collect sharp things now, apparently.
The mementos from serial killers.
Yeah, I'll just take a memento from the investigation that I'll let Pope decide.
A memento of the investigation. I feel like something. One of the sapphire-colored Christmas tree decorations that from the tree that fell down due to Sure Shot's intervention there.
Very good. Okay, love all that. Dawn questions. Here we go.
Actually, there is an end of session scene in which the hunters host a Hargrave House holiday meal.
Yeah, it'll be like Stinger scene. We'll do
Love
it.
Even better.
Very, very end of session scene. Dawn questions. Let's talk about everybody. We all answered a question, and you did resolve a threat, so everyone gets the first two. Sure Shot, did you get an echo in the night?
Yes, I think so. Apathetic.
Yes. Did you use violence to solve a problem?
Tearing down a tree is violence, I think, but I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know if that feels like a stretch. Did you encourage a fellow hunter? Yes, you did do the last one, so get that one. Pope, did you experience an echo in the night?
Sorry, I'm muted. No, I don't think I did.
Did you have a scene showing your secret private life in London?
No.
Did you engage in a petty reprisal of someone who angered your employer?
Unless we're counting the scene with Kip, but I don't think that's really Pope's private life as such. Yeah, I mean, the only reprisal I have.
Oh, I kind of like the Kip scene for that one. I think that's okay.
Yeah, the closest to the last one would be Pope tackling the sculptor right at the end, but that's not really because he angered. Yeah, I don't think that counts.
Yeah,
it's not petty.
You can have the other one though, with Kip. I think that's fine. Let's go to Dr. Noble. Did you experience an echo in the night?
I'm gonna say yes, because for the changes to the Christ story, she added the dried flowers. Yeah.
Did you secretly engage in romantic or emotional behavior at odds with your aloof, logical exterior?
Oh, she just shot first.
Yeah, I'm kind of into that. Yeah, the emotional behavior. Did you have a conversation with the child while no one was looking?
Didn't get a chance to. And then if we're just going to go back to the emotional behavior thing, I mean, being all excited about almost blowing up ourselves, I mean, that's pretty cool.
That's true too. Yeah, that whole scene was sure shot. Miss Blakely, did you experience an echo in the night?
I didn't try for any, so I don't think so, no.
Did you let someone touch you and then make them pay a price? Yes, you did. Did you secretly show a vulnerable side to someone?
I don't think so, not tonight.
Okay, so you got 1, 2, 3 experience points. All right, let's keep going. You can mark New Dawn questions if you wish, or leave either or both the same. Playbook moves. I don't think the Resurrectionists have brought the head back yet. Let's talk about playbook or custom. Let's talk about Janus Mass prompts. Are we owed any Janus Mass prompts still? Do you still have one, Pope?
Yes, I do. I was going to.
Oh, and I think Dr. Noble marked one too. Mask of the Past, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So let's have those.
All right, hold on. Let me see. Mm-hmm. Narrate a flashback to the time you had a terrible fight with the person you lost.
I can go first if you like, and give you some minute to think about that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was thinking back to the Mask of Apathy that you did earlier. And I think Dr. Noble, after she's made her way back home after falling through the ice, the first person that does find her later is Pope, who is at the time her father's factotum. And while her father expresses some perfunctory concern for what has happened to her, he is too busy with his own affairs to really spend a great deal of time. And it's down to Pope to bring the young Dr. Noble a hot water and a blanket and the things that are, hot tea, hot coffee, in fact, perhaps that's where she got the taste for it. The things that helped to nurse her back to health eventually after she'd been left on her own.
Very nice.
Don't know if I can ask this, but Pope, how much older you think, Rob, how much older you think Pope is than Dr. Noble?
Yeah, I wasn't imagining Pope as particularly old.
Okay.
He's probably in his 30s.
Okay.
How old is Dr. Noble?
Probably around the same age, if not just a few years younger. But I mean, like
Yeah.
they're peers rather than
Right.
like,
Yeah. He's maybe
yeah.
like 5 years or so older at the most. So he would have been a young man,
Okay.
just in her father's service at the time of that
Right.
incident.
Okay. Yeah. The only reason I want to clarify is that because it has to do with the fight. So, she's remembering a time when, because Pope had saved her for the mask, that she got into an argument with Michael because she was defending Pope. She remembers distinctly they were having a wonderful time, just doing something with research or just one of their recreational pastimes or being intimate, whichever it was. And then she happened to mention Pope in a very complimentary way. I mean, how much help he's been and such. And then Michael just blew up for what she considers absolutely no reason. Why would he be upset that she's mentioning, her father's assistant? Why would he be upset if this is a person that she's had in her life for a while? What's the big deal? And Michael slung around some very unfounded accusations, and it was a terrible fight where he left and didn't come back for a while.
Very good. That's Stars and Wishes.
Okay, I have so many stars. Basically, David, everything you did in this, I have a whole list of like things that I'm like, oh my God, oh my gosh, how fun, how fun, how fun. And basically everything you did, I have a star for. Yeah, it was just, you were very involved in the role play and your character in reacting to the other characters. It was so much fun. Mads, as always, I love Dr. Noble. I love that Blakely hates Dr. Noble. It's just a wonderful, wonderful thing. Everything you do is so, I mean, it's wholesome in a, okay, this is Dr. Frankenstein way. It's a weird thing, but it's really hard to not like Dr. Noble. And I that's part of the fun, I think, of the Between, is having these people who do bad things, but you can't help but like them a little bit. I Rob, you play Pope in just this very, yes, I am dedicated to my employer, but I will, excuse my French, fuck shit up if I have to. And it's just really a lot of fun. All of this is a lot of fun. I put a whole bunch of stuff in our group chat, but yeah, this is a lot of fun. This is a very fun game. Thank you.
Yeah, I think Pope there to do the things that he thinks Dr. Noble shouldn't be getting her hands dirty with. Yeah, I really enjoyed that scene with Dr. Noble and Church near the beginning of the game, and anything with shooting is always fun. I kind of picture Dr. Noble pulling out this little derringer or something and dispatching the Sculptor. That was very cool. Yeah, I enjoyed the theorizing, although I must confess that I was absolutely lost by this threat. I had no theories myself. I had no idea what was going on. But it was really fun hearing everyone else putting things together. And I think once that started to happen, I started to spark a few ideas finally. But yeah, I was baffled.
Yeah, I really love the Nutcracker threat. I think it works super good. It feels like the original threats that we've gotten to play so far. It just like more holiday themed, which was great because like I think Christmas horror stories are particularly fun. So that was really good. Plus, it's like fun to play in January. So all of that was good. I had a good time watching everybody investigating the ballet and seeing how that happened while I looked at the clues and tried to figure out what was going on. So that was a blast, to get to do that and then share my theory with everyone, and then everybody pitch in on some more clues and how we could answer a different question, and see how that gets resolved. I thought everybody did a really neat thing where they tied their Janus Mask answers to the scene that we had established was about to happen with ice skating. And that was like echoes in the night, except that wasn't about night or anything. It was just good role playing. So I thought that was really neat. I think the way that that Jason plays the Nutcracker is really fun. Like the way that he's always mindful to fixate on the most beloved is really neat and a cool feature of the game, and like how all that's supposed to work. But it's on the GM to remember to do that, and it's like, oh yeah, that's so cool. So it was a fun session.
Yeah, for me, I had a great time with this scene with Kip and Pope. That was really enjoyable scene. Very like just the humor of it and the lightness of it was enjoyable. I like the sort of like the relationship between Pope and Kip. It's just like very amusing to me. I also like the relationship between Dr. Noble and Pope. This is such a good like I intend for the factotum and whoever the employer is to be like very, very like closely connected characters, right? And there are things to make them closely connected, right? And I think Mads and Rob are doing a great job just sort of like making all that happen on screen. Star to Amanda for agreeing to the Snow Queen's tribute, because it would have been easy to say no to that, but I'm glad you did it because I think it led to a good place. And yeah, and I had a lot of fun with Sure Shot this session. There was a lot of the good stuff. I like that. I guess like I think it's super interesting that right now we haven't really been like in the realm of the supernatural, for a bit, and we won't be because the next one is the Pinkerton, right? So the supernatural is like very much like on pause right now, and so we kind of only are getting the supernatural through Sure Shot, right? And in a more attenuated way, Miss Blakely, but like, and so it's just kind of nice to have like those sort of like supernatural touches in there, and supernatural elements when the game is kind of like on a downswing in terms of the supernatural. We are at 12 mastermind clues, possibly 13 when we're done with the stinger. And so you're barreling towards your confrontation with Theodora. So that's exciting. And so that's my wish, is just to see if we're going to lock that in next week or not. So we'll see. But yeah, any other stars or
If
wishes?
you think I am not going to invite Theodora Brathwaite to our holiday party, then I don't know. You know anything about Blakely?
Yeah, so we're going to probably have 13 mastermind clues then at the end.
Gosh.
Yeah.
I just wanted to give a star to everyone for all the reasons that have already been delineated, but I especially love, I don't know what it is. I mean, I just think I love the byplay between Dr. Noble and Sure Shot, because it's just an opportunity to have like emotional scenes, but with more humor and more lightness, to just give a good contrast for the other stuff that comes. And I'm just gonna like interlace my stars and wishes. I would love to be one of the ones, or the one to see Sure Shot change. And like,
I really hope that happens.
I
Yeah,
really do.
really
I mean, like that is one of
happens.
my best hopes, because that I'm like, oh my God, it's like, what? I want that what moment. And then, the opportunity to possibly use field work or whatever on you and stuff. That would be awesome. And then, again, stars to Jason for the gameplay and the mechanics, but especially because and it could be because you created the game, so you have more of a handle on how things are handled from the keeper point of view. But I always, always, always love your interactions with us when you are playing your side characters in the mastermind, because there are things people can say. There are things people can get from the quotes or what have you for being able to play said NPCs. But there's a certain magic that happens when somebody really knows what they want to convey with each character. And I think you bring that out so much. And I appreciate you for it, because it gives us like a lot to work with. And with each other, because I mean, I think every one of us like does a really good job of, okay, this is what's happening. Let's just like run with the role, or, like give out, good mask and all these little things, the masks, the masks of the threat, oh my God, it's like,
oh my gosh, the unseen,
the unseens.
the
Unseens are just
is...
like this wonderful layer that I don't see in any other game. What the hell, I mean, it's beautiful. It's just absolutely gorgeous. And I have to give like, okay, Mario stars again for it. And then again, wish to do the thing with Sure Shot. I am perfectly happy, and I forget if I put it in the safety or what, but I am okay if Miss Blakely decides she wants to be a bit vindictive. I mean, like, Dr. Noble ain't all that. She just unfortunately has a lot of attention on her.
I was going to message you about that, but now I don't have to.
No. I mean, I'm okay with this, I mean, like that's a wish. I'd like to see what kind of havoc you're going to cause.
Oh, I can cause havoc if I'm allowed to.
I want to do another star for this misstep. That's the incursion. This threat. I didn't write this one, so it's kind of fun to. I didn't write this one, and I'd never run it either. So this is like the first time I've done it, and so it was really enjoyable. I don't know if Ben watches these videos or not, but it is. It's a great threat. The details are so good. The characters are so good. And it was just really, really enjoyable to play through. I like this threat because it almost feels like Batman Returns, because Batman Returns is like a holiday Batman movie, and it's just kind of got that the Sculptor just reads to me as like that kind of villain, so I just kind of enjoy those vibes, I guess. But it also has these the threat has lots of very intellectual touches to it, right? Which are really enjoyable as well. So lots of cultural and religious touches and references and stuff. So
yeah, when we were reading the Nutcracker and getting it ready and everything, when Jason and I were doing that, I kind of suspected the second clue would frequently resolve in ice skating of some kind.
Yeah.
But I thought it was really cool how we got to that, and that was really neat. When we were reading it and getting it ready, it was like, this is going to be good. I can't wait to see this.
Yeah, I knew it was going to be really fun. I was pretty excited about it.
So for the people who thought that it was not going to feel tonally correct, it's I suspected that it would. And it totally does.
Yeah. There were some people who, when we were getting the Nutcracker ready, because it was kind of floating around, because it was part of the contest, and it was kind of floating around in other places. And there were a lot of people who were worried that the joke of the Nutcracker and the way the victims are killed was going to be too much to deal with, it was going to mess up the tone. But I don't think that's the case at all. I think that the sort of gallows humor of the threat makes it scarier to me,
To be honest, some people I know that are very familiar with how the Between works didn't catch on to what the Nutcracker title is in relation to the threat thing, and I was like, oh honey.
I mean, it had some great moments.
Make me laugh.
Yeah, it had some great moments to be able to just interject that little bit of okay, he's getting uncomfortable, right? Great.
The whole Nutcracker, when you think of a Nutcracker doll with the teeth, it's so fucking creepy in this thread. It's just, Ben, good job. This is real.
And Jason, you did
creepy.
such a fabulous job playing the Sculptor.
Yeah,
my God. I'm
I have
What?
nightmares now. Thank you for that.
Awesome. Any other stars or wishes before we do our little end of session scene?
I want to throw in one quick wish, building off of what Mads was talking about earlier. I want to see Sure Shot's reaction to the child.
Oh yeah. That's another wish I have too, because we're so close to it. Like, what's going to happen with the child, right? And also, like, Sure Shot's getting pretty close to having no more advancements available either. So David might want to start wrapping up Sure Shot, unless you want to hang around a little bit to tell the rest of your Janus mask. But it could be that we're losing Dr. Noble and Sure Shot pretty soon. Losing Dr. Noble means losing Pope, by the way. And so it'll be interesting to see, like, down the road, in a few more sessions, probably after Theodora's finished and we're moving on to Admiral Flag or Titania, do we still have some of these characters? If not, who are the replacement characters? Is someone playing the orphan? Do we have a vessel now? Do we have an Unquiet? Do we have a legacy? Like, what do we have? David and I are working on a playbook that is a troop style playbook that is the secret occult order that is Hargrave House. So that's kind of fun. Like, there are a lot of options, I think, when we get to that stage. And I'll be really happy to see, like, kind of how that all shakes out. So yeah. But
I'm gonna just say it in one word.
It definitely feels very appropriate that Miss Blakely would be the survivor of the group.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Miss
Constant.
Blakely's been here since, and Miss Blakely, I mean, the undeniable. I've built the undeniable to where even after they've taken all their advancements, there's still so much to do in that character. Like, you can just keep going for a long time with the undeniable. That's the purpose. They're immortal.
Goodness,
right? So.
I don't know. I'm in my other game that I play. I was the vessel and then I died. Now I'm in a custom playbook. But my character is kind of infatuated with the undeniable. He keeps spending his masks to protect the undeniable, which is because he's dumb. I don't know, whatever. It's fine. I don't know if the undeniable or my character will survive this.
Yeah,
we'll see what happens next week.
We shall see. All right, let's do this end of session thing. All right. So, as part of the Nutcracker rewards, we have an end of session scene in which the hunters host a Hargrave House holiday meal. The hunters may invite any guests they wish to appear, meaning any other side characters or whatever. If the mastermind is invited, the mastermind will bring a gift that counts as a mastermind clue. Each hunter may name one item in their personal quarters and give it to another hunter who may add it to their personal quarters unmarked. We also have a paint the scene, but we'll get to that in a moment. So, who do you all want to invite? I think you each get to invite one person. I think that makes the most sense.
I'm inviting Brathwaite's daughter.
Oh, you're inviting Tatiana Brathwaite. Okay, interesting.
I'm inviting Tati. If Brathwaite wants to come, that's cool too.
Which I'll say. Pope, who are you going to invite?
Pope is inviting Kip, but he's not dining with the guests. He's down in the kitchen eating
with you, right? Yeah,
with me. Yeah, I do. Yeah, of course, I'm serving, and yeah, I'm making sure that Kip gets a full holiday meal.
Very good. I love it.
I'm inviting the rabbi. Yeah.
I think that I'm inviting Luciana Fig.
Or L'Hortensia, yeah.
L'Hortensia Fig, that's what I meant, sorry.
Oh, intriguing. Okay, good. So it's L'Hortensia, Kip, Rabbi Solomon, and Tatiana Brathwaite, and
if Lady Brathwaite wants to chaperone her daughter, whatever, don't worry about
right, yeah. You're not directly inviting her.
No,
right?
I just Tati, Miss Brathwaite and chaperone is what literally the invitation said.
What a rogues gallery of holiday guests. I don't know if we need to role play this scene. I like just kind of letting it live in our imagination. But she does bring a gift to you. What does she bring? What is the gift? Oh, actually, let's do the paint the scene first. The paint the scene for this little reward for this party, and this is is this. What here is imperfect, but entirely good?
The dessert, which is the traditional English Christmas pudding, has Pope misjudged the amount of alcohol added to it, and it is extremely, extremely potent.
Very good.
But delicious, and it's very much to Kit's delight.
It looks revolting. The Christmas pudding looks so disgusting. Every time I see one, I'm like, ugh. But it sounds
good.
delicious. Yeah, it sounds delicious, but it looks absolutely revolting. That's mine. If I was going to say how it's imperfect, that's how it would be. No, I like it. It's very boozy, very good. Mads, how's it? Perfect but good.
The tree. We have our own version of the holiday tree, but just like the flowers in the market at the end, it's a bit faded, kind of beat up, because it was more of a impromptu decision to drag something into Hargrave House, into our living room, I don't know, like receiving room, whatever, and then decorate it very hastily, and it's just cute because of Miss Blakely's cast-offs, or Sure Shot's sense of used bullet casings for some of the ornaments, and Pope has added practical touches to it, so this way the ornaments will stay on the tree, and Dr. Noble will put ribbons on it, just to kind of give it a pop of color. But yeah, definitely imperfect.
Okay, so I think the thing that is imperfect but entirely good is Sure Shot's rendition of Father Christmas. Is imperfect but entirely good.
Very good.
The mistletoe isn't actually mistletoe. It's just sprigs of whatever expensive thing Blakely could get a hold of, hung up in various parts of the house, because how fun.
When everything is settled and everyone's sort of feeling a little boozy, and Tatiana will look over at her mother and say, "So are you going to tell them?" And Theodore says, "Oh, yes, yes. My friends at Hargrave House, I have the honor of hosting Queen Victoria herself at Brathwaite Hall later this winter. She's going to spend a week bundled up by the fire in Brathwaite Hall, and I would love it if you all would be there as well. What a treat. A week with the Queen and her entourage at Brathwaite Hall.
Well, I myself would never turn down such an invitation, especially if you, young Miss Brathwaite, would be there."
And Tatiana smiles and she says, "With bells on."
I hope so.
And so that's your mastermind clue. It's basically setting up the final encounter with Theodora at Brathwaite Hall. And
I will give out gifts.
From my personal quarters. Yeah, we all have to give out gifts. Yeah, you each have to give a gift from your personal quarters to another hunter.
Yeah. So in the fiction, as Father Christmas, this skinny, stubbly Father Christmas rendition, Sure Shot hands out a package to everybody. Only one of you mechanically will get to have it. But he hands out a long gun or a 6-gun to everybody. And I think who needs to mark it? I think Dr. Noble or Pope. And I will let the two of them decide which one will mark. We'll have it on their personal quarters.
Yeah.
I think it makes sense for Dr. Noble to take it, given today's events.
Newfound enthusiasm for guns. Good. Miss Blakely, what are you giving as a gift?
Oh, I think Miss Blakely, she is giving gifts. Of course, they're very extravagant and expensive and probably useless gifts for the most part. But she is making everybody stand under the mistletoe while she gives them. Just so you all know, that's a requirement. But I think the real gift she is giving is to, dang, who do I want to give this to? It's gonna be funny. To Pope. A beautifully rendered chess set, except all the pieces have the profile of Miss Blakely. Beautiful though. And of course, under the mistletoe. That's just how it goes. Sorry. Oh, sorry.
You're good.
So, actually, David, do you want to go? Or no, you went. Okay.
I can
Pope,
go.
I don't
Yeah,
know if you
sure.
want to go, and then
I was going to hand over the apothecary's worth of oils and unguents to Dr. Noble, because I think these are things that some of which Pope has been collecting for the purposes of Dr. Noble's construction of the child.
yeah. So that leads to my scene. So so she does hand out some gifts to the other hunters, just general little like baubles and such. But to Pope, later on, like, you know, she's boozy from the stupid Christmas pudding. And so they find themselves in one of the back hallways of Hargrave House on the way after the holiday meal. All the guests are have left, and she had pulled out Albertina's rose from her quarters. I mean, again, just kind of like off her rocker, and she is walking with Pope down the hallway, and they find themselves in a corner where Miss Blakely unfortunately put one of her fake mistletoes. And Dr. Noble looks at Pope. He's looking at her, and she looks at him, hands him the rose, and gives him a lingering kiss.
And La Hortensia gives you all the gift of meat pies. Merry Christmas, everyone. No, she doesn't.
Thanks. Into the trash.
She assures you it's all. She assures you it's chicken. Don't worry.
The other white meat.
The other. Yeah. Very good. Awesome. I will see you all next week. Have a good one.